The corner cafe on Pine Street was the kind of place people chose for first dates. Warm lighting, soft jazz, tables just far enough apart for privacy but close enough to feel the energy of other conversations. Rachel Morrison sat at a center table, checking her appearance in her phone's camera for the third time. 39 years old, CEO of a $3 billion consulting firm, wearing a carefully chosen navy dress, hair perfect, makeup flawless. And at a small table in the corner, pushed against the wall where the lighting was dimmer and the music didn't quite reach, sat a 6-year-old girl. Mia had her mother's dark hair, but none of her confidence. She wore a pink dress that was slightly wrinkled from the car ride. In front of her sat a paper placemat and a cup of 4 crayons the server had brought. She colored slowly, methodically, her small shoulders hunched. Nobody walking past would have thought anything was wrong. A child, drawing quietly, well-behaved. But if anyone had looked closer, they would have seen it. The way Mia glanced up at her mother every 30 seconds, the way Rachel never looked back, the way the little girl's coloring stayed within the lines but had no joy in it, mechanical, obedient, invisible. Across the cafe, at a table near the window, Owen Pierce sat with his 5-year-old son. Owen was 36, an architect who still looked tired 2 years after his wife's death. His son Noah was drawing too, but with completely different energy. Scribbling happy chaos across his placemat, occasionally holding up his work for his father's approval. Owen smiled, nodded, said something that made Noah giggle. And then Owen's eyes drifted to the corner table, to the little girl in pink, to the woman at the center table who kept checking her phone, checking the door, checking everything except her daughter. Owen's expression shifted. Something tightened in his chest. He recognized something. Not the situation exactly, but the feeling underneath it. The feeling of a child waiting, hoping, being invisible. A man walked through the cafe door, mid-40s, expensive suit, confident stride. He scanned the room, spotted Rachel, smiled. Rachel stood immediately, extended her hand, professional, polished. "David, I'm Rachel. So nice to meet you." "Likewise," said David, sitting down. "You look even better than your photos." They dove into conversation, quick, animated, Rachel laughing at his jokes, leaning forward, engaged completely. At the corner table, Mia looked up, watched her mother, waited. Rachel didn't turn around. Mia went back to coloring. Owen watched, his jaw tight. His son tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, can I have another color?" "Sure, buddy," said Daddy quietly, but he couldn't look away from the little girl in the corner who just realized her mother had forgotten she existed. Subscribe to Becca's Stories for powerful narratives of transformation and human resilience. David was telling a story about closing a deal in Singapore. Rachel laughed, nodded, asked follow-up questions that showed she was listening. Impressive, engaged, perfect first date behavior. "So you travel a lot for work?" David asked. "Constantly," Rachel said. "It's exhausting, but necessary. I'm trying to scale back, though. It's hard when you're running everything." "I can imagine. Do you have kids?" Rachel hesitated, just for a second. Then, "I do. A daughter. She's 6. "Oh yeah? That's great. Where is she tonight?" Another hesitation. She's here, actually, at another table. My babysitter canceled last minute, and I didn't want to reschedule. She's fine, though. Very independent. Loves drawing." David glanced around. "Which table?" "The corner," Rachel said quickly. "But she's totally fine. Let's keep talking about you. You were saying about the Singapore deal." She redirected smoothly, professionally, like a CEO managing a difficult conversation, steering away from complications, maintaining control. At the corner table, Mia had finished coloring the playmat. She looked at it. A house, a sun, 2 stick figures holding hands. She'd drawn it carefully, neatly. She looked up at her mother again. Rachel's back was to her, laughing at something David said. Mia folded the playmat, put down the crayons, sat very still, hands in her lap, waiting. Owen saw it, saw the exact moment the little girl gave up, stopped trying to be noticed, accepted invisibility. He knew that look, had seen it once before, on his own son's face, 6 months after his wife died, when Owen had buried himself in work and forgotten that grief doesn't excuse absence. His chest tightened. Noah tugged his sleeve again. "Daddy, that girl doesn't have many colors. Can we share?" Owen looked at his son, then at Mia, then at Rachel, who was still completely absorbed in her date. "Yeah," Owen said quietly. "Yeah, we can share." He stood up. Noah grabbed his crayon box, a big one, 64 colors, and they walked over to the corner table together. Owen knelt down, eye level with Mia, gentle, non-threatening. "Hi, Nair," he said softly. "My son Noah noticed your drawing. Would you like to use some of his crayons? He's got lots." Mia looked up, startled, like she'd forgotten other people could see her. "It's okay," Noah said, holding out the box. "I have duplicates. You can pick any ones you want." Mia glanced toward her mother. Rachel was still talking, hadn't noticed. "Is that okay?" Mia asked quietly. "Can I?" "Of course," Owen said gently. "Noah loves sharing his art supplies, don't you, bud?" "Yep," Noah said proudly. "Art's better when you share it." Mia's face transformed, just slightly, a small smile, tentative, like she wasn't sure it was allowed. She reached out, picked 3 crayons, purple, teal, gold. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome," Noah said. Then, with the complete lack of social boundaries only 5-year-olds possess, "Do you want to draw with me at my table? Daddy says 2 artists are better than 1. Mia's eyes widened. "Can I?" Owen glanced at Rachel, still deep in conversation, oblivious. "How about this?" Owen said gently. "You draw here, and Noah draws at our table, and we'll compare pictures in a few minutes. That way your mom knows where you are when she looks over." "If she looks over," his mind added bitterly, but he didn't say it. "Okay," Mia agreed. Noah ran back to his table. Owen stood, about to return, then paused, looked at the little girl who was already drawing again, this time with color, with life. "You're doing great," he said softly. "That's a beautiful picture." Mia looked up at him, and in her eyes, Owen saw something that broke him. Gratitude for being noticed, for existing, for mattering to someone, even a stranger, even for 30 seconds. He returned to his table, sat down, couldn't shake the feeling in his chest. Across the café, Rachel laughed at another of David's jokes, completely unaware that her daughter had just been given the kindness she should have been offering all along.
20 minutes passed. Rachel and David were deep into conversation about their careers, the competitive landscape of their industries, the challenges of leadership. They were well matched, intelligent, successful. The date was going well. Too well. Because Rachel had stopped checking on Mia entirely. The initial guilt had faded into rationalization. Mia was fine, independent, good at entertaining herself. This was important. Rachel deserved this, deserved a chance at connection, at romance, at something beyond work and motherhood. She'd earned this moment. Hadn't she? David excused himself to take a call. Rachel pulled out her phone, scrolled through work emails, answered 3, glanced at the time. They'd been here 45 minutes. The date was going so well she was already thinking about suggesting dinner. At the corner table, Mia had covered her new placemat in color. Purple mountains, teal sky, gold sun. It was beautiful, alive. She looked up, ready to show her mother. Rachel was on her phone. Mia's smile faded. She looked down at her drawing. Then carefully, quietly, she started writing words at the bottom. Her handwriting was shaky, first-grade letters, but readable. At his table, Owen watched. He'd been watching the whole time, watching this woman prioritize everything except the small person who needed her most. And the terrible thing was, he understood it, had done it himself, had buried himself in blueprints and client meetings because grief was easier to avoid than process. But understanding didn't make it okay. Noah tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, can we go say hi to the girl? See her picture?" Owen hesitated. He didn't want to interfere, didn't want to make Rachel feel judged. But his son was already sliding out of his chair, walking toward Mia with the complete confidence of a child who'd been taught that kindness was normal. Owen followed. "Hi again," Noah said cheerfully. "Can we see what you drew?" Mia held up her placemat, the colorful mountain landscape, and at the bottom, in careful letters, "Mommy is busy. I am invisible." Owen's breath caught. Noah, oblivious to the weight of those words, said, "That's so pretty. I love the purple mountains. Can you teach me how to make mountains like that?" Mia nodded, smiled slightly. "You have to start with triangles." The two small humans bent over the placemat together, Noah asking questions, Mia answering quietly. Two small humans connecting in the simple way children do. No complications, no hidden meanings, just presence. Owen stood behind them, staring at those words, "Mommy is busy. I am invisible." He looked across the café at Rachel, at this woman who had everything, success, resources, freedom, and who was using it all to escape the one person who needed her to stay. He wanted to say something, wanted to walk over and ask what the hell she was thinking bringing her daughter to a blind date and then ignoring her completely. But he didn't, because he'd been her once. Different circumstances, same mistake. And shame hadn't taught him anything, only consequences had. Only seeing his son's face when Owen finally looked up from his grief and realized how much time he'd lost. So instead, he did something small, something quiet. He walked to the counter, ordered a hot chocolate with extra whipped cream, asked the server to bring it to the little girl in the corner with a message from the artists at the window table. When the server delivered it, Mia's face lit up. "For me?" "From those two over there," the server said, pointing at Owen and Noah. Mia waved back, small, shy, happy. And Rachel, finishing a text message, finally looked up, saw the hot chocolate, saw her daughter waving at strangers, really saw her daughter for the first time in an hour. Her smile faltered. Something cold settled in her chest.
David returned from his call. "Sorry about that. Where were we?" But Rachel wasn't listening anymore. She was watching Mia, watching her daughter drink hot chocolate that Rachel hadn't ordered, watching her show a drawing to a little boy Rachel didn't know, watching her daughter's face light up in a way it hadn't all evening. "Actually," Rachel said slowly, "could you excuse me for just a minute?" She stood, walked to the corner table, looked down at her daughter. "Hi, sweetie. You doing okay?" Mia looked up, guarded. "Yes, Mommy." "What are you drawing?" Rachel asked, trying to sound interested, trying to remember how to be present. Mia handed over the playmat. Rachel took it, looked at the colorful mountains, smiled. "This is beautiful, honey. You're such a good—" And then she saw the words at the bottom. "Mommy is busy. I am invisible." Rachel's smile froze. Her throat closed. The cafe noise, music, conversation, coffee machines faded into background static. "Mia," she whispered, "what does this mean?" "It's true," Mia said simply, matter of fact. "You're busy with the man. I'm being good, being quiet, like you said." I didn't mean," Rachel couldn't finish, couldn't find words. Because Mia wasn't wrong. Rachel had brought her daughter to a blind date, had stuck her at a corner table with crayons and instructions to be good, had proceeded to ignore her completely for an hour while chasing connection with a stranger. "Who gave you the hot chocolate?" Rachel asked, her voice hollow. "The nice man and his son," pointing to Owen's table. "They shared crayons with me, and they asked about my picture. They were nice." Strangers had noticed her daughter, had offered kindness, had done what Rachel should have been doing all along. Rachel looked toward the window table. Owen was helping Noah put on his jacket, getting ready to leave. He glanced up, met Rachel's eyes. There was no judgment there, no anger, just recognition, understanding, like he'd been exactly where she was and knew how it felt. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. She looked back at her daughter, at this small person she'd reduced to invisible, to convenient, to something that could be managed with crayons and corner tables. "I'm sorry," Rachel whispered. "Mia, I'm so sorry." Mia looked confused. "It's okay, Mommy. I was good. I didn't interrupt." That made it worse, so much worse. Because Mia thought being invisible was being good, thought not interrupting meant she was doing the right thing, thought her mother's neglect was somehow her responsibility to accept. Rachel knelt down, eye level with her daughter. "No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong. Mommy did. I got so focused on my date that I forgot the most important person in the whole restaurant. I forgot you, and that's not okay. That's not how I want to be. But you said you wanted to meet someone nice so you wouldn't be lonely." Rachel's chest cracked open. "I know I did. But Mia, I already have someone nice. I have you, and I made you feel invisible. I made you feel like you didn't matter as much as a stranger, and I'm so sorry." She pulled her daughter into a hug, held her tight, felt Mia's small arms wrap around her neck. Across the café, David was checking his phone, looking impatient. He caught Rachel's eye, pointed to his watch. Time to wrap up or commit to dinner. Rachel looked at him, at this potential future, this chance at connection. And then she looked at her daughter. There was no choice. She stood, walked back to the center table. "David, I'm really sorry, but I need to go. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have come tonight." David frowned. "Is something wrong?" "Yeah," Rachel said quietly. "I brought my 6-year-old to a blind date and proceeded to ignore her for an hour. That's pretty wrong." "Oh, well, they're resilient. I'm sure she's fine." "She's not fine. And I'm not fine. I need to go be her mom. I'm sorry." She didn't wait for a response. Walked back to Mia. "Come on, sweetie. Let's go home." "But your date," started Mia, "is over," firmly. "You're more important. You're the most important. Always." They gathered Mia's drawing, her new crayons, the unfinished hot chocolate. As they walked toward the door, Rachel paused at the window table. Owen and Noah were still there, Noah wrestling with his jacket zipper. "Thank you," Rachel said quietly, "for noticing her, for being kind. I should have been the one doing that." Owen looked up. His expression was gentle. "We all get lost sometimes. What matters is finding your way back." Rachel's throat tightened. How did you know?" "Because I've been you," Owen said simply. "Different situation, same mistake. My wife died 2 years ago and I buried myself in work. Forgot my son needed me present, not just providing. A teacher pulled me aside one day and asked if everything was okay at home because Noah kept drawing pictures of me with my back turned. That woke me up." Rachel looked at Noah, at this happy little boy who was comfortable sharing crayons with strangers, who'd been taught that kindness was normal, who'd survived his father's grief and come out the other side because his father had chosen to see him. "How do I fix this?" Rachel whispered. "You already started. You saw her. You stopped. Now you just keep showing up. Keep choosing her. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Rachel nodded, swallowed hard. "Thank you." She took Mia's hand, walked out into the cool evening air, got into her car, buckled her daughter into the back seat. And for the first time in a very long time, she didn't turn on music or take a call. She drove home in silence, thinking, feeling, recognizing. That night, after Mia was asleep, Rachel sat in her home office, the one she usually worked late in while Mia watched TV alone in the living room, the one that had become more familiar than her daughter's bedroom. She opened her laptop, looked at her calendar. Meetings, calls, travel. Her life mapped out in 30-minute increments. Where was Mia in this calendar? When did her daughter get 30 minutes of her undivided attention? Rachel pulled up her dating app profile. 3 apps, actually, all active, all promising connection, all requiring time she didn't have, time she was stealing from the one person who already loved her unconditionally. She deleted them, all 3, didn't hesitate. Then she opened a new document and started typing. Not a work memo, not a client proposal, a list. Things I will change. No more work after 6 p.m. No phone during dinner. No dates until Mia is older and it can be done properly. One-on-one time every day. Actually be present. She stared at the list. It felt impossible. Her company demanded so much. Her career was at a critical juncture. Pulling back now meant what? Missing promotions? Losing deals? Slowing growth? Or maybe it meant keeping her daughter, keeping the relationship that actually mattered, keeping the person who'd written "I am invisible" on a playmat because her mother was too busy chasing strangers. Rachel closed the laptop, walked to Mia's room, stood in the doorway watching her daughter sleep. 6 years old, small, trusting, waiting for her mother to see her. "I see you now, baby. I promise. I see you." The next morning, Rachel called her assistant. "Clear my calendar for this afternoon, and going forward, no meetings after 5. "But, Miss Morrison, you have—" "I know what I have," Rachel interrupted. "Reschedule it. This isn't optional." That afternoon, Rachel picked Mia up from school early, took her to the park. Not on her phone, not multitasking, just present. "Mommy?" Mia asked hesitantly. "Are you sad?" "No, sweetie. Why?" "You're being really nice. You're not working." The words stabbed. "Do I usually work when I'm with you?" Mia nodded seriously. "Always." Rachel swallowed hard. "That's going to change. Starting now. When I'm with you, I'm with you. No work, no phone, just us." "Really?" Mia's face lit up with such hope it broke Rachel's heart. "Really," Rachel promised. They spent 2 hours at the park, playing, talking, Rachel learning things about her daughter she'd somehow missed, that Mia loved climbing but was scared of the highest platform, that her best friend at school was teaching her to do cartwheels, that she wanted to learn piano but had been too scared to ask. "Why were you scared to ask?" Rachel asked gently. "Because you're always busy," said Mia simply. "I didn't want to make more work for you." Rachel pulled her daughter close. "Oh, baby, you're never work. You're the best part of my life. I'm sorry I made you feel like you were an inconvenience. That's my fault, not yours." Over the following weeks, Rachel restructured everything. She promoted her VP to handle day-to-day operations. She cut her travel by 60%. She stopped checking emails after dinner. Her board was concerned. Her peers were judgmental. She lost a major client because she wouldn't fly out for an emergency meeting on a Saturday. But Mia started drawing different pictures. Pictures with 2 people holding hands and smiling. Pictures that said, "My mommy loves me," instead of "I am invisible." And somehow, that made every sacrifice worth it. 3 months later, Rachel was in the same café. Not for a date. For lunch with Mia. Saturday ritual. Mother-daughter time. Sacred. They were laughing about something when Rachel saw him. Owen, with his son Noah, getting coffee at the counter. "Mommy, that's the nice man from before," Mia said excitedly. "Can we say hi?" "Of course," Rachel said. They walked over. Owen turned, recognized them, smiled. "Hi," Rachel said. "I wanted to thank you again for what you said that night. It changed everything." Owen glanced at Mia, who was already showing Noah a new drawing. "She looks happier." "She is," Rachel said. "We both are. I quit trying to fix my loneliness with strangers and started fixing it by showing up for the person who was already there." "That's good," Owen said gently. "Really good." "What you said about your wife," Rachel ventured carefully, "about getting lost. How did you forgive yourself?" Owen was quiet for a moment. "I realized guilt was useless. The only thing that mattered was what I did next, so I did better. Showed up, kept showing up, and slowly my son taught me how to be human again." "Children are good at that," Rachel said softly, watching Mia and Noah comparing drawings. "They are," Owen agreed, "if we let them." They stood there in comfortable silence, 2 parents who'd learned the same hard lesson, who'd chosen their children over their grief, their work, their fear. "We should let them play sometime, if you'd be open to that. Looks like they've become friends. I'd like that. Friends are important, for all of us. Not romance, not rescue, just two people building community, teaching their children that connection mattered more than productivity, that presence was the gift. As Rachel and Mia left the cafe, Mia took her mother's hand. "Mommy, I'm not invisible anymore." Rachel stopped, knelt down. "No, baby, you're not, and you never should have been. I'm sorry it took me so long to see you properly." "It's okay," Mia said. "You see me now. That's what matters." Out of the mouths of children, wisdom and grace and forgiveness that adults couldn't earn, but could learn from. Rachel hugged her daughter, right there on the sidewalk, not caring who watched, not checking her phone, not thinking about work, just present. Finally, fully present.
Sometimes the smallest gestures teach the loudest lessons. And sometimes all it takes to change everything is someone quiet enough to notice what's been invisible all along. If this story reminded you that being busy isn't the same as being present, type in the comments, "I see you now." If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Becca's Stories. Like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional storytelling. Copyright and content notice. This work is fully original. AI tools support our process but are not used to copy or plagiarize copyrighted material. All stories are fictional and not intended to represent real people, groups, or events. Any resemblance is coincidental.